Space was supposed to be dead silent, but tonight, it whispered back. At 2:14 ship time, the Deep Space Monitoring Array caught something no system was programmed to detect, a transmission so old, so broken, it felt like it crawled out of time itself. Not a signal, but a memory. Dr. Serafina Torres jolted awake at her console as the first wave hit the ship's comms. It wasn't static. It wasn't language. It was emotion. Fear. Grief. Something pleading across the void. The sound carried weight, like someone's last breath echoing through eternity. "Captain, you need to hear this," she said, voice tight, heart beating way too fast. The waveform danced across the projector, jagged, distorted, alive. The sound shifted again. And suddenly, layered inside the distortion, came a faint voice. Not human. Not synthetic. Something in between, like a memory trying to rebuild itself. A child's whisper. A crackle. A tremor like a dying star. Then. A heartbeat. Jax Mercer, the ship's engineer, stepped closer, eyes wide. "Bro, that's not noise. That thing's communicating." "No," Serafina whispered. "It's remembering." The captain froze, staring at the pulse on screen, like something was staring back through it. A second heartbeat. Slower. Heavier. Wrong. The lights flickered. The console glitched. The transmission locked onto them. And in that moment, one truth slammed into the room. Something out there knows they're listening. And now, it wasn't alone. The night the universe spoke back, Dr. Orion Hale wasn't even supposed to be awake. The lab was silent, only the low hum of cooling fans and the soft glow of holopanels lit the room. Orion sipped cold coffee, scrolling through data logs he had already checked 100 times. Same noise. Same static. Same nothing. Then the speakers cracked. A sharp pulse. High frequency. Precise. Way too clean to be random noise. Orion froze. He tapped a command. The waveform expanded on the screen, an organized sequence of spikes and valleys, repeating every 12 seconds. Not natural. Not accidental. Not human. His heart kicked up. "Yo, no way," he whispered to himself. He looped the signal. The second repeat was identical. The third? Still identical. Whatever this was, it wasn't drifting like a pulsar. It wasn't dissolving like cosmic radiation. It was controlled. A message. He patched the data into the decryption suite. Lines of code ran like a waterfall. The computer struggled. This wasn't any known communication protocol. Not binary. Not Morse. Not any deep space packet format. But something inside the noise felt intentional. Almost like someone wanted it to be found. Then the frequency shifted. The pulse stretched into a long, rising tone, like a machine pulling breath. The lab lights flickered. The floor vibrated, not physically, more like inside his mind. A pressure, a presence. Orion stepped back from the console. The waveform had changed again. Now it wasn't a signal. It was a pattern. A rotating helix of symbols, glowing, shimmering, rearranging themselves in ways the software couldn't explain. They weren't just shifting, they were choosing new formations on their own. Like they were aware. Orion hit record. His voice shook. This transmission isn't artificial intelligence, it's something else. Something external. Something communicating dynamically. The hum intensified. The lights dimmed to near black. soft, layered, impossible, whispered through the speakers. "You are late." Orion stumbled. "What, who are you?" Static swelled, then cleared. "A fracture approaches. Your world will not survive as it is." The signal faded to silence. Orion stood alone in the lab, staring at the empty screen. Only one thought repeated in his mind. Someone out there knows us. And they're watching. But the worst part? The message wasn't sent to humanity. It was sent to him. Orion barely slept after the transmission. His mind kept looping back to the same impossible words. "You are late." Late for what? Late compared to who? And why him? By sunrise, the scientific community was buzzing. Orion had sent a red alert packet to the Deep Space Array Council, and within hours he was flown to the North Ridge Aerospace Facility, a classified site that didn't officially exist. But nothing about this situation felt official anymore. The base itself was buried inside a mountain, towering steel doors, satellite dishes pointed into every corner of the sky, and security drones patrolling like angry hornets. And yet, even in all that high-tech chaos, Orion felt something strange, like the air itself was waiting. He was greeted by Director Mira Solis, a woman with the sharp stare of someone who hadn't trusted anyone since the last century. "You brought us a headache, Doctor," she said as they walked. "A transmission that rewrites itself? Reacts to your voice? That shouldn't be possible." Orion sighed. "Trust me, I know. But it reacted. That thing wasn't just sending a message. It was listening." They entered a massive chamber, floor-to-ceiling screens, rotating star charts, real-time anomalies plotted across a holographic dome. In the center stood a sleek spacecraft, small, triangular, wrapped in a shimmering coating that looked like liquid metal. Project Vantage. A prototype quantum jump vessel meant for deep void reconnaissance. No crew had ever taken it beyond lunar orbit. Director Mira crossed her arms. "The signal's origin isn't from any star system we know. It's from behind the Orion Veil." A ripple passed through the room. Even seasoned scientists twitched. The Orion Veil wasn't a place. It was a cosmic dead zone, a region so dark, so energy-empty, even gravitational fields vanished there. Nothing should exist in it. Nothing should pass through it. Nothing should speak from it. But something did. "You want me to, what? Fly into it?" Orion asked, half laughing, half terrified. "No," Mira said. "We want you to find where the signal was bouncing from. Something is hiding past the veil. And for whatever reason, it called for you." Orion stared at Vantage, the sharp angles, the shimmering hull, the glowing interior panels. His stomach flipped. This wasn't a research mission. This was a summons. He strapped into the cockpit, surrounded by silent screens waiting to wake up. His pulse drummed in his ears. His thoughts spiraled, "Why me? What could I possibly offer something not human?" But deep inside, under the fear, curiosity burned like wildfire. The systems powered on with a pulse of blue light. The HUD greeted him. Quantum drive ready. Trajectory, unknown. Mission, response. Response. A message sent to him. Now he had to answer. Director Myra's voice crackled in his headset. Vantage is linked to the signal's frequency. If it transmits again, the ship will follow automatically. Follow? As in, like a beacon? Exactly. You'll be riding the universe's weirdest GPS. Orion swallowed hard. Great. No pressure. Countdown lights flashed across the hangar. 10. 9. 8. The quantum reactor hummed, a deep, unnatural vibration that sank into Orion's bones. 7. 6. 5. The runway doors split open, revealing a tunnel of light stretching toward the sky. 4. 3. The cockpit tightened around him like armor. 2. The ship lurched forward. 1. Launch. Vantage shot from the runway like a fired arrow. The acceleration crushed Orion back into his seat. The sky blurred. Clouds tore apart around him. In seconds he broke the stratosphere, leaving Earth as a shrinking blue marble. Space wrapped around him, a silent, star-speckled ocean. Then the signal returned. A rising hum hit the sensors. The same pattern. The same helix of shifting symbols. But now, instead of appearing on the lab screen, the symbols floated in front of the ship, projected directly into space. A cosmic breadcrumb trail. "Oh, hell," Orion muttered. "We're really doing this." The quantum drive activated. Reality stretched. Stars warped into silver threads. For a heartbeat, Orion saw something. A silhouette. Tall, thin, luminous, like a being made of fractured starlight. Then everything snapped black. Vantage reappeared at the edge of a vast cosmic fog, the Orion Veil. A swirling curtain of pitch-black dust, looking less like a nebula and more like a wound in space. The ship's sensors went haywire. Gravity, 0. Radiation, 0. Electrical activity, 0. Everything, 0. Space wasn't just empty, it felt erased. "Okay," he whispered. "This place is actually terrifying." The signal pulsed again, deeper this time. Almost, impatient. "Enter." "Bro wants me dead," Orion mumbled, shaking his head. "All right, let's go then." He guided Vantage forward. The veil swallowed the ship. And instantly. Silence. Not just audio silence. A silence that pressed on his mind like hands muffling his thoughts. The stars vanished. His sensors died. His comms flickered out. Only one thing remained. The voice. "Dr. Orion Hale, you have arrived." A cold shiver ran through his spine. Something was inside the veil with him. Something ancient. Something watching. And he wasn't sure he'd ever make it back. The void inside the Orion Veil was unlike anything Orion Hale had ever imagined. It wasn't just dark, it felt aware. Like the darkness itself shifted slightly when he breathed, as if space was adjusting to make room for him. Vantage drifted forward, powerless. Every system stayed offline except life support, which flickered like a candle caught in the wind. Orion kept his hands on the controls even though they were dead, because letting go felt like giving the darkness permission to swallow him. Then he saw it. Floating ahead like a frozen heartbeat in the void. An artifact. At first it looked like a shard of crystallized night, smooth, elongated, fractured with faint silver veins that pulsed like slow lightning. But the more Orion stared, the more wrong it became. It wasn't really there. It phased in and out of existence, shifting between solid and transparent. "Yo, what even are you?" he whispered. The artifact reacted. Not physically, cosmically. A ripple spread across the veil. The darkness trembled. And suddenly, the ship's HUD lit up in a burst of blue flame. "Connection requested." Orion's jaw dropped. "You've gotta be kidding me." More symbols formed, spiraling glyphs identical to the ones from the signal. They spun, merged, rearranged until they resolved into something he could read. Approach. He felt his heartbeat slam into overdrive. "Bro, okay," he muttered. "Just don't explode my atoms." With no engine power, the ship drifted forward. Closer. Closer. The artifact grew clearer. It wasn't a shard, it was a construct, a technological object designed by something far beyond human understanding. Smooth surfaces folded like origami made of starlight. Small rings rotated around it like tame black holes. The quantum drive suddenly powered back up, on its own. Orion jolted. That wasn't me, that wasn't even possible. A voice echoed through the cockpit, not spoken, not digital. A resonance inside his skull. You were expected. Orion froze. He looked around instinctively, even though he knew damn well nothing human was hiding in that tiny cockpit. Expected by who? He whispered. The artifact pulsed, one slow, deliberate heartbeat of light. By the ones before you. The architects. Architects? Of what? The veil? The signal? Reality? Before he could form another question, Vantage began to move. The ship wasn't under his control anymore. It rotated slowly, aligning its nose directly toward the artifact's core. The HUD displayed a new message. Quantum link initiating. The cockpit filled with blinding light. Orion shielded his face, eyes burning, breath trembling. In the glare, he saw visions, fast flashes like cosmic memories bleeding into his brain. A city made of floating light towers. A ring-shaped star system crafted by alien hands. Beings composed of geometric radiance standing around a colossal monolith. And then. A collapse. Stars imploding. Space folding inward like crushed paper. An entire civilization vanishing in a single silent flash. Orion gasped and grabbed his chest. His skull felt like it would split. The artifact dimmed. The vision stopped. But the fear stayed. What the hell was that? He whispered through clenched teeth. The voice responded immediately. A warning. A memory. The architects reached beyond their limit. Orion swallowed. So why show me? Another pulse. Because you stand at the edge of the same mistake. A chill sliced through him. Humanity had barely scratched the surface of interstellar tech. What mistake were they repeating? Vantage drifted closer until it was only meters away from the artifact. Orion stared into it, and the artifact opened. Not mechanically. Not physically. It unfolded like space itself was peeling apart. A corridor of blue-white light stretched inside, floating in total darkness like a gateway into another dimension. The ship moved forward, drawn by an invisible pull. Oh no, 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 don't you dare, Orion muttered, trying to grip dead controls. We're not doing portal nonsense. The voice didn't even acknowledge his panic. Enter. You were chosen to witness. Chosen. By an extinct alien civilization. And he didn't even know why. His breath shook as Vantage slipped into the corridor. The moment the ship crossed the threshold, gravity inverted. Orion felt weightless, then heavy, then suspended. The walls around him dissolved into a swirl of data, streams of alien equations, star maps, impossible geometries. And then. Silence again. A new chamber appeared before him, floating in the void like a bubble of reality preserved from a dead universe. The artifact had delivered him into its memory. Its last intact vault. The voice spoke once more, softer now, almost sad. The architects built knowledge beyond stars. But they lost themselves in the pursuit. You must not follow. The chamber unfolded like a blossoming flower, revealing a spherical device at its center, a data core containing the entire legacy of the architects. Orion felt his throat tighten. This was the greatest discovery in human history. And a warning that could doom them. But before he could process any of it, the chamber shook. A tremor. A distortion. Like reality was glitching. The voice sharpened. Another seeks this knowledge. You must decide who receives it. Orion's blood ran cold. Someone else had followed. Someone who shouldn't be here. The artifact trembled again, panicked. You must choose soon. The corridor behind him collapsed into blackness. Orion realized he was no longer alone in the veil. And whatever had entered with him wasn't human. The chamber flickered around Orion like a dying dream, the crystalline walls shifting between solid form and fractured starlight. He could still hear the artifact's warning echo inside his skull. Another seeks this knowledge. He didn't know who, or what, had followed him into the Orion Veil. But the chamber felt tighter. Like the universe itself was holding its breath. Orion exhaled shakily, stepping deeper into the vault. Soft blue light pulsed under his boots, illuminating alien carvings etched into the floor, lines of symbols spiraling into a central point. They shimmered like they were alive, reacting to his presence. The voice returned, softer now. You must hear what the architects left behind. The walls brightened, and suddenly, the chamber expanded. Not physically, but perceptually. It felt as if Orion was standing inside a hollowed-out planet, an impossible sphere with a ceiling of swirling galaxies and a floor of glass reflecting forgotten ages. In the center hovered the data core, a floating sphere of translucent material threaded with gold veins that pulsed like a heartbeat. Okay, Orion muttered, swallowing hard. Show me. The sphere rotated slowly. Then it spoke. Not with a voice, but with memories. A shockwave of images hit Orion like a tidal wave. He stumbled, gripping his head as visions cascaded through him. A world of silver oceans beneath a sky made of living light. Cities carved from floating monoliths that changed shape with thought alone. Beings of luminous geometry drifting through the air, their bodies shifting patterns like emotional spectrum displays. This was the architect's home. A place beyond physics. A civilization that learned how to sculpt reality. And then, the shift. The images darkened. The oceans turned to metallic dust. The monoliths cracked. The beings flickered, their bodies fragmenting like shattered prisms. A distortion spread across their dimension, warping everything it touched. An unseen force tearing existence from the inside out, folding stars, breaking timelines, rewriting physical laws like glitching code. Orion felt the agony of a civilization dying in silence. A final voice whispered through the vision, a message left by a dying species. Our hunger to exceed the cosmic limit doomed us. Do not reach where we reached. Do not repeat our fate. The vision shattered. Orion collapsed to one knee, breathing heavy. His mind buzzed with static, overloaded by a knowledge no human brain was meant to hold. God, he whispered. They destroyed themselves. The chamber dimmed slightly, almost mournfully. The artifact's voice echoed again. The architects touched the edge of creation. They tried to command the force behind all spacetime. But the source they reached was not meant to be controlled. A chill crawled up Orion's spine. You mean, like a god? Silence. Then. A fundamental sentience. Older than stars. Older than universes. Orion felt the air grow colder as the voice continued. They awakened its attention. They did not survive the encounter. Before Orion could ask more, the chamber vibrated violently. A low rumble spread through the vault, shaking the walls like something enormous was pushing against them. What was that? He shouted. The artifact's tone shifted to urgency. The intruder has reached the veil's inner boundary. It seeks what the architects left behind. You must confront it. Orion stood up, trembling. I'm one guy in a tin can spaceship. What am I supposed to do against, whatever that thing is? But the artifact didn't hesitate. You were chosen because you are human. Orion blinked. What the hell does that even mean? The voice expanded, like multiple tones layered together. The architects were pure logic. Pure intellect. They lacked the one thing necessary to resist the source. The lights brightened, surrounding Orion in a warm glow. Instinct. Emotion. Defiance. Orion felt his chest tighten. You're saying, humans can survive what killed them? The chamber pulsed once, affirmation. Humans are unpredictable. Chaotic. Resilient. You may succeed where they failed. Orion wasn't sure whether to laugh hysterically or panic. Maybe both. But the rumbling returned, louder now. The chamber walls cracked with streams of static light. Something was tearing through the veil itself, breaking the last barrier. What's trying to get in? The artifact hesitated. A bad sign. Then. Not a creature. Not a machine. A remnant. The walls shimmered, briefly revealing a silhouette, distorted, shifting like a shadow made of broken pixels. A leftover fragment of the architects themselves. Corrupted. Hungry. Desperate for completion. Orion's mouth went dry. So it wants the knowledge core. It wants to finish the architect's last experiment. Even if it destroys everything. The vibrations became violent. A deafening crack split the chamber. We gotta go, Orion whispered. But the artifact responded. You cannot leave yet. You must receive the last message. Before he could object, the sphere expanded, projecting a final holographic memory, this one more personal. More human-like. A single architect, dim, flickering, stood before a vast machine resembling a star compressed into a cage. Its voice echoed in Orion's mind. If our message reaches you, traveler of another age, turn back. The source of creation is not a gift. It is a test. The vision faded. The chamber shook so violently Orion nearly fell. A tear of void light ripped open behind him, jagged, shimmering, leaking a dark mist like liquid shadow. The remnant had arrived. A distorted, glitching figure crawled through the tear, a twisted echo of the luminous beings from the visions, its shape broken into impossible angles. Wherever it stepped, the floor warped like melting glass. It spoke in 1,000 fractured whispers. Return the core. We must finish. We must finish. Orion backed away slowly. Oh hell no. You're corrupt, you're creepy, and you're literally breaking the universe, stay away from me. The remnant lunged. The artifact thundered in Orion's skull. Run. Take the core. The veil cannot hold much longer. Orion sprinted toward the glowing sphere as the chamber collapsed around him. The data core shrank into a small crystalline object, dropping into his hands with a warm pulse. The remnant shrieked, warping the air. Give. It. Back. Orion turned and ran as the chamber walls dissolved into white fire. The tear in reality expanded like a hungry mouth. Behind him, the remnant clawed through collapsing geometry, screaming in distorted rage. The artifact's final command echoed. Reach your ship. Escape the veil. Humanity's fate now rests with you. Orion dove through a collapsing corridor, clutching the core to his chest as everything exploded into blinding light. The voices of a dead civilization followed him. Do not repeat our mistake. And the voice of the remnant chased him. Finish what we started. The veil collapsed. And the chapter ends on a blackout. The universe snapped back into place like a rubber band whipped across Orion's skull. He stumbled onto the cold metal floor of Vantage's cockpit, gasping, the data core clutched against his chest like a lifeline. The ship's systems flickered violently, screens rebooting with a storm of warning symbols. A deep, metallic groan echoed through the hull. A reminder that the Orion veil was collapsing behind him. Orion scrambled into the pilot's seat, heart punching against his ribs. Come on, Vantage, wake up, don't do me like this. The engines coughed. Lights surged. A thin line of power returned to the controls. Then the artifact's voice whispered faintly in his mind. Hurry. The remnant is not bound by the veil. Orion froze. You mean it can follow me out? If the core remains with you, yes. Yeah, cool. Zero comfort. Love that for him. He tightened his grip on the core. It pulsed softly, warm, rhythmic, almost like holding a living heart. Behind the ship, the veil roared. A tear of black lightning ripped across space as the remnant clawed through, pulling itself into real space. Its silhouette flickered, glitching like a corrupted hologram. Stars bent around it. Space warped. Even time felt like it was breathing wrong. Orion slapped the throttle. The ship lurched forward. Alarms screamed as gravitational turbulence chased him, but he kept his hands locked around the controls. Not dying today, he muttered. Not becoming cosmic spaghetti. Vantage tore through the last shred of the veil's boundary. Space snapped clean. Then, quiet. A moment of still, breathless calm. The remnant didn't emerge. Yet. Orion forced himself to breathe. The core's warm pulse steadied him, but the weight of what came next crushed harder than any gravity. He had a choice. A choice that could shift the fate of human history. The artifact's voice materialized again, softer and more distant, its strength fading now that the veil was gone. The knowledge within the core can save your species. Or end it. Orion stared at the shimmering object in his hands. Inside the crystal, tiny galaxies seemed to swirl. Data. History. Technology. Warnings. Power. The legacy of a civilization that destroyed itself for the same knowledge Earth now held. He swallowed. So what's the move, he whispered. Do I deliver this to humanity, or bury it somewhere no one can ever find? The line remained silent for a moment, an almost human hesitation. Then. You must decide alone. The architects failed because no one questioned. You must choose because you can question. Orion leaned back into the seat, mind racing. Images flashed through his head. Scientists back home celebrating a breakthrough. Governments fighting for control. Corporations salivating over limitless power. And, humanity repeating the exact same mistake. He tightened his jaw. But then he imagined something else, cures for every disease. Clean energy for the entire planet. Technology that could prevent extinction events. A future where Earth leaps millennia forward. The core offered both salvation and destruction. The line between them was razor thin. His console pinged. A proximity alert. Orion's stomach dropped. The remnant had emerged. It floated in the void behind him, a shifting ghost made of broken angles and screaming geometry. Its voice poured into the cockpit like a corrupted choir. Return what was ours. Vantage rattled under its gravitational pull. Panels sparked. The ship's bow dipped as if forced downward by invisible hands. Orion's heart slammed into overdrive. He hit the boosters, pushing the ship into a desperate acceleration. The remnant surged forward. Stars blurred. Metal groaned. The ship strained under forces it wasn't built to survive. And still. Orion clutched the core like it was an extension of his own pulse. He spoke through gritted teeth. You died chasing this thing. You destroyed your universe for it. And I'm not letting you destroy mine. The remnant screamed, a deafening, impossible sound that warped the cockpit windows. Orion forced the ship toward a nearby star's magnetic field. The remnant followed. The ship's structure buckled as magnetic waves battered the hull. The remnant flickered, distorted, unstable. Orion saw his opening. He took a breath and made his final choice. Humanity isn't ready, he whispered. He opened the emergency airlock hatch and hurled the core out into the star's magnetic storm. The crystal spun, caught in a cyclone of solar energy. The remnant shrieked, abandoning the chase for Orion and diving after the core, pulled by instinct, by obsession. The star flared. A violent burst of plasma swallowed the remnant whole. One blinding flash. Then silence. Orion collapsed against his seat, shaking. Exhausted. Alive. He whispered into the empty cockpit. Yeah, that's my decision. We live to learn later. Not die learning now. The ship drifted quietly through space, battered but intact. Orion set a course for home. Not a hero. Not a savior. Just a human who chose caution over godhood. And for the first time since entering the Veil, the stars looked peaceful again. The void around the Eidolon felt heavier now, like the universe itself was holding its breath. Elara floated in the command sphere, staring at the beacon that once whispered with alien voices. Now it was quiet. Peaceful. Almost satisfied. Behind her, the crew waited. Exhausted. Scared. But hopeful in that weird, fragile human way. The ship's AI broke the silence. Astra, quantum horizon collapse in 90 seconds. Your choice will determine the final outcome. Yeah. No pressure. Elara finally spoke, voice steady but soft. Elara, they weren't warning us. They were, inviting us. Tarek frowned. Inviting us to what? Oblivion? No, she said. Continuation. All the dead worlds, all their messages, all their mistakes. They weren't trying to scare humanity away, they were telling humanity how not to disappear like they did. The beacon pulsed one last time, like a heartbeat. Elara placed her palm against it. A warmth spread across the room, calm, familiar, almost human. A vision flickered in her mind. A cosmic network of civilizations who tried, failed, tried again. Light passing from era to era so the next species wouldn't have to start from zero. A chain across time. A reminder that existence isn't a straight line, it's a relay race. And now, it was humanity's turn to carry the torch. Elara, Astra. Upload the beacon's memory into our hyperlight array. Broadcast it. Everywhere. Astra hesitated, the ship had never done anything like that. Astra, this could change the trajectory of human civilization forever. Exactly, Elara whispered. Let's not be the next dead world. The array spun up. The whole ship trembled. Light surged outward, a wave that raced across the stars like a cosmic flare. A message. A warning. A gift. Humanity's new beginning. As the glow faded, Tarek stared out the window, jaw slack. Captain, the stars look different. Elara exhaled, finally letting the weight fall off her shoulders. No, she said. They just finally, hurt us back. Fade out. The Eidolon drifts through newborn starlight, carrying the first message of a future that refuses to stay silent.